นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ I would like to start by paying homage to the Lord Buddha, offering salutation to senior and junior monks respectively, and extending greetings to all the lay supporters who are listening in from home today. Today is Wednesday, June the 10th, 2020, and I am Phra Nicholas Thanissaro of Dhammapada International Meditation Center, Azusa. And today I would like to share a short Dhamma talk on the topic of the benefits of mindfulness of death. Andhabhūto ayaṃ loko, Tanuk'ettha vipassati, Sakunto jālamutto appo saggāya gacchati. This world is indeed blind. Few are those who deeply see. Like birds escaping from a net, few will go to heaven. This evening I would like to elaborate on this Buddhist proverb that is derived from verse 174 of the Dhammapada as a principle for those of you listening in today to practice in your everyday lives. We are gathered here today in order to celebrate the life of Mrs. Meelan Boonjindasap, who recently passed at the age of 84. At the behest of her surviving children and grandchildren, tonight for the third night, here at Dhammapada International Meditation Center, Azusa, we are going to perform a funeral rite to generate merit for their late mother or grandmother. Today I'm going to give you a talk about a weaver's daughter who, although she was only 16 years old, was very strict in her cultivation of the Dharma, especially the mindfulness of death. And although her life was short, before passing away she became worldly wise beyond her years. I hope her example will be an inspiration for those youngsters amongst the grandchildren of Mrs. Meelan Boonjindasap who are listening in tonight. Practice mindfulness of death, saying to yourselves, "Uncertain is my life, certain is my death. I shall surely die. Death will be the termination of my life. Life is unstable, death is sure." For they that have not practiced mindfulness of death will tremble in fear when their last hour comes, and will die screaming in terror, even as a man without a stick on seeing a snake is stricken with fear. But those who have practiced mindfulness of death will have no fear when their last hour comes, but will be like a steadfast man who, seeing a snake even from afar, takes up a stick and tosses the snake away. Therefore practice mindfulness of death. These are the teachings given by the Lord Buddha when he was in residence at Agalawa Shrine to the residents of Alawi who had invited him to a meal and gave alms. In their number was a 16-year-old weaver's daughter who was hearing the Dharma for the first time in her life. No one in the audience listening to the discourse paid serious attention to the Buddha's words. They remained absorbed in their worldly duties as before. The only exception was the weaver's daughter, who said to herself, "Marvelous indeed is the speech of the Buddhas. It behoves me to practice mindfulness of death." And she practiced mindfulness of death day and night, alongside her normal duties, continuously after that day. Meanwhile, the Buddha left Alawi and went to Jetavana Monastery. Now one day, 3 years later, the Buddha was meditating early in the morning, and he realized, from the day the weaver's daughter first learned about mindfulness of death, she has been practicing it continuously. She is ripe for attaining enlightenment, but without hearing a second teaching from me, she would die without having realized this attainment. Accordingly, the Buddha, with his retinue of 500 monks, departed from Jetavana, and in due course arrived back at Agalawa Monastery. When the people of Alawi heard that the Buddha had come, they went to the monastery and invited him to be their guest. The weaver's daughter also heard the Buddha had arrived, and her heart was filled with joy at the thought, "He has come, so people say, one that is my master, my teacher, one whose countenance is like the full moon, the mighty Gautama Buddha." And she reflected, "Now, for the first time in 3 years, I am going to see the Buddha, the hue of whose body is that of gold, and to hear him preach the sublime Dhamma, containing within itself all sweetness." Even though she was delayed by her duties, the Buddha and the audience waited for her in silence, and only started when she arrived. The Buddha asked the weaver's daughter a series of 4 questions, which made no sense to anyone else in the audience. The Buddha asked, "Young lady, from where do you come?" The weaver's daughter replied, "I do not know, Reverend Sir." The Buddha asked, "Where are you going?" The weaver's daughter replied, "I do not know, Reverend Sir." The Buddha asked, "Do you not know?" The weaver's daughter replied, "I know, Reverend Sir." The Buddha asked, "Do you know?" The weaver's daughter replied, "I do not know, Reverend Sir." Everyone else in the audience was offended and protested, "Look, this girl dares to speak informally with the Supremely Enlightened One. When he asked her, 'Where do you come from?' she should have answered, 'From the weaver's house.' When he asked her, 'Where are you going?' she should have answered, 'To the weaver's workshop.'" The Buddha thus asked the weaver's daughter to explain her first answer. "Why, when I asked you, 'From where do you come?' why did you say, 'I do not know'?" She answered, "Reverend Sir, you yourself know that I come from the house of my father, a weaver. So when you asked me, 'Where do you come from?' I knew very well that your meaning was, 'From where did you come when you are reborn in this lifetime?' But as for me, from where I came when I was reborn here, that I do not know." Then the Buddha congratulated her, saying, "Well said, young lady. You have answered the first question correctly." Having done so, he asked her to explain the second question. "When I asked you, 'Where are you going?' why did you say, 'I do not know'?" "Reverend Sir, you yourself know that I was going to the weaver's workshop with my shuttle basket in hand. So when you asked me, 'Where are you going?' I knew very well that your meaning was, 'When you pass away, where will you be reborn?' But as for me, where I shall be reborn when I have passed from this present existence, that I do not know." Again the Buddha congratulated her, saying, "You have answered the second question correctly." Having done so, he asked her to explain the third question. "When I asked you, 'Do you not know?' why did you say, 'I know'?" "Reverend Sir, this I know, that I shall surely die, and therefore I said so." For a third time the Buddha congratulated her, saying, "You have answered the third question correctly." Having done so, he asked her to explain her answer to the final question. "When I asked you, 'Do you know?' why did you say, 'I do not know'?" "This alone do I know, Reverend Sir, that I shall surely die, but at what time I shall die, whether in the night or in the daytime, whether in the morning or at some other time, that I do not know, and therefore I said so." For the final time the Buddha congratulated her, saying, "You have answered the fourth question correctly." Having done so, he addressed the audience as follows. "Only those amongst you who failed to understand the words she spoke were offended. Only those who lack the eye of understanding are blind. Those alone who possess the eye of understanding can see." At the conclusion of the discourse, that maiden was established in the fruit of stream entry. Then the weaver's daughter took her shuttle basket and returned to her father. He was asleep, even as he sat at the loom. Not noticing he was asleep, she presented the shuttle basket. As she did so, the basket knocked the corner of the loom and fell with a clatter. Her father awoke, and accidentally, as a result of taking hold of the loom, gave it a pull, whereupon the sharp point of the loom swung around and struck his daughter in the chest. Then and there she died from the blow, and was reborn in the world of the Dusita gods. Her father looked at her as she lay there, her whole body spotted with blood, and saw that she was dead. Straightway there arose with him intense grief, wailing, There is none other that can extinguish my grief. He went to the Buddha and told him what had happened. Reverend Sir, he said, extinguish my grief. The Buddha comforted him, saying, Grieve not, disciple, for in the round of existences without conceivable beginning, you have even thus, over the death of your daughter, shed tears more abundant than the water contained in the four oceans. In this way the Buddha discoursed on the round of existences without conceivable beginning. The father's grief was assuaged, and he asked the Buddha's permission to enter the monkhood, and before long attained arahantship. There are several messages we can take away from this story. Firstly, although it's hard to gain insight into the true nature of life, and most people in this world fail to achieve this, we must try as hard as we can to achieve this insight before we die, by taking our practice of meditation seriously and finding time to meditate every day. Secondly, we must try not to surrender to the emotions of grief, because, according to the Buddha's advice in the Tirokutta Sutta, no weeping, sorrow, or any kind of mourning will help loved ones who have passed away. But when an offering is given to the monastic community on behalf of the deceased, it will bring benefit to those departed ones in a way that is both immediate and long-lasting. Thirdly, we should use this funeral to stimulate a sense of urgency in our own lives. Not only this, but also to look for opportunities to practice the mindfulness of death in our daily routine, such as following the habitual reflections at the end of the evening chanting, or recollecting how lucky we are still to be alive each morning as part of our 10 items of homework for our meditation. Fourthly, it is remarkable that although this young girl only met the Buddha twice in her life, at the end of her life she was able to achieve rebirth in the 4th level of heaven, or Dusit Buri. We ourselves have much more contact with the Dharma than her, but have we taken it as seriously? We need to ask ourselves this question every day. When the Buddha refers to most people in the world as being blind, he is referring to those who hear Dhamma teachings, but who are too complacent to take them seriously or put them into practice in their lives. Like all the other people in the audience in Alawi, who failed to get the same benefits as the weaver's daughter. This thought brings us back to the Buddhist proverb with which we started this discourse, that Andhabūto ayaṃ loko, Tanuk'ettha vipassati, Sakunto jālamutto va, appo saggāya gacchati. This world is indeed blind. Few are those who deeply see. Like birds escaping from a net, few will go to heaven. Now, before we hear the Abhidhamma chanting, I would like to invite everyone to dispel the sorrow and mourning from your mind as we sit for a few moments of meditation together following my instructions. So, all of you listening in from home today would take this opportunity to find a comfortable position for yourself in meditation, sitting cross-legged or in a half lotus position, as you have done in the past. Closing your eyes gently, and breathing deeply to yourself so that your body becomes relaxed. With the in-breath, taking in the refreshing, cool air from around you. As you breathe out, feeling that you are letting go of any worries, concerns, sorrow, or negative states of mind. And scan down through the whole of your body, making sure every part of yourself is relaxed. Starting at the top of your head, relaxing your forehead, eyebrows, and eyelids. Making sure the way you close your eyes is as gentle as possible. Allowing the muscles in your face to become soft. Relaxing your jaw, your neck and shoulders. Relaxing both arms all the way down to your hands and fingers, so that the way your hands rest in your lap is as light and gentle as possible. Relaxing all the muscles of your torso, chest, trunk, and your belly. And then relaxing both legs all the way down to your feet and toes, until your body is so comfortable that it's almost as if it's disappeared into the atmosphere around you. Allowing you to turn your attention inward, to focus instead on the feeling inside you. That sense of warmth and well-being inside that by any other name you could call your state of mind. Putting aside any thoughts or regrets from your past, any plans for the future, but remaining in the present moment, while conjuring up a feeling of happiness and joy inside yourself, as if that were like tiny particles inside yourself. Or if you are familiar with the idea of merits, then thinking back to all the merits arising in your past and the feeling of joy and happiness that it brought you. Especially the merits today from taking precepts, from listening to the Dhamma talk, from the offering of robes and necessities for the temple, and also meditating together with all the merits in your past, whether it be the merits from visiting the temple, ordination, offering of robes, offering of katina, support for the temple down through the many decades that you have been attending. May it come together as a bright, clear sphere inside yourself, washing away any worries, concerns, negativity inside yourself, so that the only thing left inside yourself is brightness, purity, and meritorious thoughts. When you feel relaxed in body and mind, imagine that inside yourself is an empty space, or a hollow cavity. No organs or tissues, muscles or bones. And allow your sphere of merit, like a brightness or a feeling of well-being, to make its way gently downwards to the center of your body. For some people it may be something you can see, for others it may be more of a feeling. Either way will work well. Maintain that object at the center of yourself as continuously as you can for as long as you can. If your mind wanders away, then bring it back. If thoughts come in your mind, you may make use of the mantra Samma Arahang as a way to clear your mind of those thoughts. In this way, lightly and gently, we magnify and multiply the merits in our mind, so that when we have the maximum of merits for ourselves, which of course will bring us many good things into our own life, like a magnet for good things, for positive thinking by the law of attraction. But today, also importantly, it will be merit that we can share, especially in this 7-day period after the passing of our grandmother or mother, Mrs. Meelan Boonjindasap, who at this time, according to the Buddhist beliefs, is on her way to a new existence. But the merits that she can take with her, some of her own, but also the merits shared with her by loved ones who are still on this earth, will help her to have a brighter, more refined place in her new life. So with this thought in mind, we cultivate the maximum of merits for ourselves so that we can share these merits, and by sharing, then the merits increase further even for ourselves. So we magnify and multiply those merits within ourselves, so that within our mind is like a container which can bring together the maximum of merits to be a powerful force, to lead our mother or grandmother, to pave the way to a bright heavenly existence as she searches for her new place in the afterlife.